I am Marcus James Dixon with Gold Derby, and we are here with Michael Ground, costume designer for The Boys on Amazon Prime Video. Michael, what would you say is the most exciting thing about creating costumes for all of these iconic comic book characters?
To me, the most exciting thing on The Boys is, we pivot throughout the day so many times. We go from a crazy super suit to a really downtrodden office worker to it's using your brain in all different capacities throughout the whole day and just learning how to keep moving and keep thinking and keep creating and then blending them all into a world that works together.
Hmm. And season 3 was your first season on the show. Can you tell us what it was like joining The Boys and how did you get the gig?
Season 3 was my first season. It was there. LJ, who did the original 7 designs, was on a mad hunt to find a costume designer that she could work well with. LJ's now an associate producer, and so my name came up, and I was doing one of the COVID drives between New York and Toronto, heading to see my family and do a 2-week quarantine, and the phone rang, and it was LJ, and then it just kind of quickly, I had a meeting with Eric and Michaela, and then all of a sudden I was signed on to this monster show.
Season 3 introduced a brand new character, Soldier Boy, played by Jensen Ackles. When a new character comes in, how much discussion and work and time goes into what the clothes should look like, what they should feel like? Because I mean, it's different than a one-off guest star, I imagine.
Absolutely. So Soldier Boy is actually one of LJ's characters. So that is like a 6-month to a year process of creating R&D, developing fabrics, developing designs, and then slowly getting into the mock-up fittings. It's a long haul of intensive fittings and making sure the suit can work for all the action and getting a bit of a layout from Eric on what we're going to have to do and the action that's going to come, and just making sure that the suits are fully functional for everything that we need to do to keep the cameras rolling, to keep the entertainment coming.
And the 6th episode was a big one, Herogasm. It went viral for all of the reasons you would expect. This was the episode where the characters go to the superhero orgy and things get very violent at the end.
Yes.
How many costumes would you say were in those scenes, and how much longer did this episode take, than a normal episode would?
So I designed probably 30 orgy-centric super suits. So for that, that was probably a 4-month process.
Wow.
Of illustrations, and it was so for that it was we did design all the masks, all the gauntlets, all the armor, and everything else. We just didn't have to do the bodies of it all. But it was, and it was, when you're working in that kind of a situation, you have just making sure that, people are comfortable and they're covered where they need to be covered. And we're showing enough, showing what they're comfortable showing, and just to bring, the entertainment and to allow the audience who's been dying for Herogasm since The Boys began production for season 1. It was just putting as much out there as we can, but with the most comfort of the cast, so that they could perform.
And what happens to all the costumes when you're done, rolling film? Do they just kind of sit in a warehouse, or what happens to them?
So any superheroes and any iconic characters that were, either we hold them here in Toronto if we're not sure if they're going to come back or not, or they go to Sony archives for one day when we'll need to set them up or present them somewhere, and then they're all kept nice and safe and dry and ready to go. Yeah, we also use them too for we'll pull pieces out too for if we're working on a new soup for inspiration, or trying to remember how we did that print on the fabric, or what technique we use for the wings, or that kind of thing. So we always kind of draw back to what really worked for us and what didn't, and what was easily manipulated on set and what caused problems on set. So it's always so we tend to keep as much as we can around for research, but we only have so much space. So
there were some really fun unorthodox moments this season that stuck out, whether it was musical numbers or
yes.
animated scenes or flashback scenes to the Cold War. What kind of challenges does this present to the costume designer, all of these like out of the box type of moments?
For me, it presents a great challenge of pushing myself to my limits. So it's you're pivoting between how am I going to make this hospital gown spin and turn it into the musical, and at which point is she going to merge from her regular hospital gown in bed to the one that we've added some horsehair so it's got a good good movement, and where can Frenchie change his boots, and then working with the actors on that, and then jumping into whichever is coming next. So it's I don't know. I love the diversity, and that's what I love so much about our show is we get to stretch our brain muscles, and it is a challenge. And there's those Saturdays and Sundays, the odd Saturday and Sunday you get off that you're like, everything just needs to be really quiet for a couple of days so you can just kind of recharge and be ready to get back in there on Monday and start pumping it out again.
And for the animated moments with Black Noir, do you help the animators, like tell them this character should be wearing this or this?
No, our animators take the lead from kind of the vibe and style of the show, but they do such beautiful work that all the HODs work so tightly together on our show, which is one of the main reasons it is such a success, because between stunts and special effects and visual effects and prosthetics, we all have such a great working relationship, and we all know what each other needs. So we're all there to jump in for each other and help wherever we can, and keep an open line of communication for any questions.
On The Boys, there is always so much, blood and guts and green goo flying around and covering the costumes. What is, I'm sure that's challenging as a designer, because you probably have to have multiple costumes at the ready for when they reshoot the scene. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we generally, I don't think we ever have less than about 8 costumes per character. Sometimes gets up to the 16, 20 mark, depending on what the action sequence is, and which becomes that's where the logistics come into play, and it's you're pulling in we're either building or we're pulling in that jacket from from Hong Kong, from Australia, from LA, from New York, from Toronto. So we're and we're just fingers crossed. And during doing season 3, during a massive world lockdown, it was like you just stare at the DHL or UPS or FedEx and just be like, please don't let that facility get shut down. Please let those costumes show up.
Well, season 3 was my favorite so far, and I'm wondering, is there anything you can tell us about season 4? I know you're shooting it right now.
Oh, I think all I can say is, season 3 was huge. Season 4 was bigger. It's crazier. And there's a lot of twists that I don't think anybody's really expecting.
The twists on The Boys are the reason I watch. Every episode is like a cliffhanger.
It's the character development just keeps growing and growing. And, the more the characters, learn from what's happened in the past. And so so I think that's all I can say about season 4 without getting into a lot of trouble.
No, I love it. That's a good tease. So thank you for chatting with us, and stick around. We'll do a group panel at the end.
Thank you.